I used to be quite into Football Manager, so yeah, I've dabbled in the past. It's not something I'd look into too much now, but this does intrigue me.
Okay, guys, welcome back to basically a podcast. This is episode 14. And you may notice that the other two lads aren't here. Gibbzy has had to work unexpectedly, and Matt unfortunately has COVID, so he's having the week off and just resting himself up. Hope he gets better soon. I am joined today by a very special guest. We have Mr. Max Tiberius here with us today. How are we doing, bud?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Very good, very good. It's all a bit panicked last minute. A big, massive thank you for Max jumping in and giving us a hand with this week's episode. Actually works really well. Because as you're about to find out, Max plays a lot of games.
I dabble.
You dabble, yeah. So tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, and all that sort of stuff.
Okay, so I'm known in the stream world as Max Tiberius. I've streamed for probably last 2 or 3 years, primarily on Facebook for the first year and a half, 2 years. I dabbled in Twitch very lightly to start off with, and more recently stream a bit more frequently on what I call the purple side. I get used to calling it purple just for when I'm streaming on Facebook for when everyone's listening. But yeah, I do dabble in a bit of content creation, obviously on Instagram, YouTube and stuff, but it's very much a hobby. I did do it for a period, kind of almost full time at one stage. And game wise, as Spring said, I am a variety streamer, but I do focus on kind of one game at a time generally. And more recently, it's been Escape from Tarkov. I've had spells in Apex Legends as well. And PUBG I started off with, and along with the Call of Duty Battle Royales, Blackout originally, and then Warzone until that wasn't for me anymore. And recently I'm just dabbling between a lot of different games. The Cycle I streamed today along with some Tarkov.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's actually worked out really well that you're here, because the subject of today's podcast is going to be sort of new game releases, titles that are sort of teased, that sort of stuff, things that are coming out very soon. So the first game that I wanted to sort of touch on a little bit is going to be Starfield. I know you know a little bit about Starfield already. It's from the Bethesda game. It's from the Bethesda Game Studios, who also made Skyrim, Fallout 4, Elder Scrolls 5. So they've done some extremely good games. Now these games are all single player only games, as far as I'm aware. So that's something they mainly do. But this is their first new universe in 25 years, which is interesting. So all the other stuff they've done, yeah, they just haven't had that new universe, which is kind of cool. So what is Starfield? Is basically a single player action role play game based in space. They're looking at releasing it by the end of Q2 2023 at the moment. Now that was meant to be this year, but they've pushed that back. But it will be coming out on PC and Series X. I'm not sure whether they're going to be doing anything for PlayStation. I don't know whether they just don't release those kind of games for PlayStation, or do you know anything different with some of their previous
I don't
titles?
know if it's this game. I did see a new game coming out, but they said it's only going to be coming out on the new Series X. I don't even know if it's Series S. I presume when they say Series X, it's
yeah, it's that new
series.
generation.
Exactly. It does get to that phase where it should be the new generation at this stage. When with a game like that, I feel it hinders up game releases like Cyberpunk. I think some of the problems with that game releasing was it was releasing on multiple generations and multiple platforms, which is such a challenge for developers. So
yeah, there's so many things to dabble in.
It is, yes. Like, so many bugs on one. The older generation had more of the issues with. You always like to use Cyberpunk as an example of how not to do a game release, however good and bad parts of the game it is. I think it was still a good game. I would say I got the chair for it, but I still didn't complete it. But generally, yeah, they should. I think we're at the era now where, especially by next year, they should be just on the next gen.
Yeah, if they're thinking about doing a game that's that's going to be a 2-3 year cycle game, then release it to the latest gen platforms, and then wait 12 months, debug the thing, get it running super smooth, and then re-release it for previous gen consoles if they do want to do that. And that would work way better because then the dev team aren't focused on the current gen problems. And it will bring back a little bit more hype and things like that. So that'd be interesting. Now, Starfield is basically, it's in an extended solar system outwards to 50 light years, called the Settled Systems, which is, I don't think that literally crosses to any other game they've done. I don't think this is anything to do with anything they've done before.
No.
So this is a whole new setting, and a whole new scene and universe. Totally, obviously, the first one they've done in 25 years, but it doesn't sort of relate from what we've seen so far to any of the previous titles in any way. Like, there could be some Easter eggs. We'll find out when that does release. Now, there are going to be two main factions within the game. These two main factions are going to be the United Colonies and Freestar Collective, and they're in a conflict called the Colony War. So it's set 20 years after the main war in some uneasy peace. So I'm not sure sort of what really you're going to face in that, whether it's going to be constant PvE, or whether it's going to be sort of more of a survival based game with some PvE elements. So we will see. But yeah, you get to play as your customizable space explorer in an organization called the Constellation. And you can play it in first and third person. Now, that's quite interesting. I don't play a lot of first person, anything that's not third person. We'll try again. So what I normally do is I only like playing games that are first person, right? I really struggle with games that are third person because I do like to be fully immersed, and I struggle to get immersed when I am playing in third person. But what are your thoughts on like first and third person? Obviously, it's a single player game, so it's not like you're going to be able to use third person like camera advantage and stuff like that.
That's true, and they can always build it in. I mean, recent games, they've done that one where you don't get a peak advantage from the third person perspective, so you only see what your character would see from the first person anyway.
Right.
Which
Okay.
is, I love that aspect. So they could always put them, but it's a single player game nonetheless, so you don't have to worry about that. I love both. I'm a big fan of Gears of War and Division, of other third person games. I think that can add to the game, but I know what you mean with the immersion. And I do like, they could have easily just gone third person with this. A lot of open world games like that, Daisy and stuff like that, and the upcoming The Day Before that's coming out, that's being pushed back as well to next year. That's third person, but having a first person element can give that more in depth and like make you feel more part of it, especially in relation to Starfield for the space combat. I think being in the cockpit is going to give you that, definitely that immersion more, and I'm really excited for that part of it.
Yeah, 100%. Being in first person in a game like this, which from what I've seen so far in the videos that they have released and the teaser stuff, it looks stunning. The game does look very good, very, very good indeed. People have sort of described, well, say people, the director Todd Harwood of Bethesda Game Studios has described it as the Skyrim in space. And
it's hard to sell it though, isn't it?
Yeah,
a game successful like that.
Yeah, 100%. Now their first teaser was in 2018 at the Bethesda E3 press conference. We just recently, in the last couple of weeks, had the Bethesda E3 press conference for 2022, which is where they've sort of said that they're pushing it back to Q2 of 20, or the end of Q2 of 2023. So it's a year away, effectively. Still, that'll mean it's been in development for 5 years before they've released anything. What do you feel about games that release in sort of like a beta for long periods of time, like Tarkov and games like that, where, you know, they did a hell of a lot of dev work? I think Tarkov actually dates back to like 2014 or something before they even released it to like alpha.
Definitely, yeah.
So they've been building. The games do take a long time to build. But yeah, what's your feeling on like working on betas for long periods of time?
I think it adds to the quality. If you didn't have the beta, which can slow up production, but it also refines it and gives a bit more of a polished feel and actually gets the game feeling like the fans want it. That has that fans touch rather than just have a kind of tainted image of some of the developers, don't get a chance to play their game throughout. So they don't get that perspective. So I do think betas help a lot, but they do slow the process up. But again, it is worth the wait. It's like a game like GTA, and people keep moaning about that re-releasing, but how long did that take in development to come out? And the quality of the game, same as all the other Bethesda games with Fallout and Skyrim and stuff like that. Is it not Skyrim? Is Skyrim part of it as well? Or was it just
yeah, so Fallout 4, The Elder Scrolls 5, and Skyrim.
Yeah, because I've not played them. I'm more of a sci-fi kind of person, so I'm so hyped for Starfield. Fallout, I tried a bit, and I'd love to give that a go, but there's so many other games to play. I am excited for the world. Like you mentioned, that it's set 20 years after an uneasy peace after a war. It shows that they've got huge, history and lore and depth in the game before you even start a story. It's not the story starting as soon as you start the game, and it builds as you go. There's so much for you to discover in that world, which is awesome. It's going to be so much more immersive in that regard, and so much more to learn. And some people love the lore aspects of some games.
Yeah, and like you said, with 20 years worth of lore that they're packed into the game, it's going to be really interesting to see how they push that and sort of show us the story. Is it just going to be like, by the way, there was a war 20 years ago and now we're on an uneasy peace, and you just explore the world, or is it, you find things out along the way that gives you information about, although you're aware of it, it just trickles in these little bits of lore every now and again, which would be super cool.
I wouldn't be surprised they do flashbacks as well, with it being a completely single player game where it can bring you back in time and do that.
That's one thing I've never thought about.
Yeah, so that would be pretty cool to do. Just some of the story, like you get teased, they're after artifacts. The main kind of story, you're after parts of stuff. It's obviously the history of the universe, potentially, like they're kind of diving very deep into it. So that's probably going to then link in with some of the wars that have been in the past, or what's happened in the, in the lead up to where your character starts. Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure what the organization of the constellation that you play, your character, I'm not sure what their role is within the universe. Are they like peacekeepers, or
they're more like mercenaries, like peacekeepers, but like explorers? And they're saying obviously their core foundation is to explore and to find out, and that's obviously why you're exploring and trying to find these artifacts as well. So more peaceful, but there's obviously pirates and stuff, so you got that mercenary side of things where they do have the guns and the firepower to defend yourself.
I mean, I hope that it doesn't end up being something like that you have to pump money into. Although single player games, you generally don't have to do that, right? Basically, I don't have a problem with cosmetic items as such being bought, but like things like Star Citizen, I know people put thousands into that game for their
crazy.
And I mean, like stupid money.
Playing a game, actually, like just bought it yesterday, but you can buy it as cheap as $45. I've said that they're basically using that at a minute for people spending ridiculous amount of money in real cash to buy some of the ships. That's just used for development. It's almost like an extension of their Kickstarter, which was what happened to start the game up in the first place. So the game wouldn't be there without this kind of support. So that obviously helps it financially, without obviously full game sales and it being on full release in the interim. So it's completely out of choice. You can just buy it for the bare minimum and earn ships in game, which some people don't understand that with that. But yeah, they've already said they're not going to have any
microtransactions.
But yeah, exactly. Like it's not going to be like, so we say Diablo Immortal recently. It's going to be like that pay to win kind of thing when it starts and releases. We won't be able to buy ships for cash. So I don't see this with it being a completely single player game. It's the online multiplayer and PvP aspects of games that then bring out the pay to win kind of aspects, like Battlefront 2 that released horribly with how they set that up, and obviously they fixed it, but that ruined the release of that game because it was pay to win and it was hid behind all these paywalls. I don't think this game's going to have that problem at all.
So while we're on the subject then, Star Citizen, I don't know too much about it. I mean, the most I've heard about Star Citizen is from Jesse Kazam. He speaks about it a lot. They call it things like Scam Citizen and stuff like that, right? Like it's got some nicknames. Now, from what I know of it, it's either like the hardest game to learn, or it's like easy. Like there's no like people either take to it like a duck to water, or like the learning curve is stupid steep. Like you can just not work out what you're doing. So it kind of feels like a game where you need people to play with that have already played the game to understand it. You see what I mean?
Yeah, there's no like. I think that's probably going to come with a release, and they'll get a bit
Like
more of that.
tips and
They're not worrying about that at the minute because there's no point building way into the game and an introduction and all that kind of stuff and a guideline when all that stuff might be changing. They might be changing the whole core mechanics of the game and how are you going to buy ships, how everything upgrades work. There's no point building that until they've got a final product as such, or they're happy to stick with what they got. So I understand that. But I've got to say, the community's been super welcoming and there's so many people. I put one tweet out when I had a ridiculous amount of people offer to help me. It does seem like another community like Tarkov, and there's a reason why a lot of Tarkov streamers have, gone on to Star Citizen, especially at this point in the wipe for that game where it's got a bit mundane. They're like, what's the next game? And there's some people love that. Like, I love an in-depth game that takes a lot to learn or takes a bit, concentration and it's not just, shoot this and go to here and, click on the objective. It's actually like a lot of depth to it. So there's a lot of guides out there. There's YouTube nowadays, so I don't think too many people can complain about it being too hard to learn. Just follow a few guides on YouTube and take it slow. If you want another experience, wait until Starfield comes out. If you want it a bit more like on rails and a bit easier to guide, or No Man's Sky there is and stuff like that. So
it's it looks like an interesting game. I don't know whether I'll be dabbling in it myself. Starfield I was looking at possibly getting or looking into and playing. The fact that it's not a co-op or multiplayer game, I'm kind of bummed about. I do feel like if they release this as a co-op game, it'd be incredible.
Like if you think of it, when they normally do single player games, and some people are defending them going, well, they don't normally do multiplayer games, deal with it. They don't know all the scrolls online. So there's no reason why they can't do Starfield online at a later date, either an extension of this game or a completely new release, if this does well. I am like critical of them not doing it completely when Elden Ring has proven you can have like just a jump in and help out for a short time. So you have like your friends can come in and explore your world for a bit and then they can carry on with their single player story. You haven't got to change the core mechanics of the game, the story at all. It's just a co-op element,
Yeah, and I think with a game that's going to be as big as this seems like it's going to be, that kind of thing could be extremely useful. I mean, you look at Tarkov, people have been asking for a co-op offline mode for such a long time, and obviously recently they released that they are going to be doing that. I understand that there is a lot of tech debt involved with that. The servers are an issue, especially if you have developed a single player game like Starfield has. You can't just go, oh, we'll make it co-op. We'll just add this little mechanic, which means you can invite a mate. Like it doesn't work like that. It really doesn't. But I kind of feel like they've dropped a bollock a bit on that, and that they've possibly missed an opportunity to have a way of making that possible. If you see what I mean, it's interesting. But so Tarkov in general. We're in a weird state of the wipe. Obviously, that's led to a lot of people talking about a lot of different games in general, including us here today. So the wipe, we don't know when it is. Anyone that says they know when it is fucking lying. Like me and Gibbzy actually had quite a heated discussion about this, and he was saying, I'm just going to go for PvP. Like, I'm not interested in doing anything else. I just want a PvP, right? And I get that, 100% get that. But I was a bit like, it's not going to wipe soon. Like, it's not going to wipe in a way. And this was 2 weeks ago. So I was like, it's not going to wipe anytime soon. He's like, yeah, but they're doing that video on YouTube, which happened to be the trailer for Arena. I admit, I thought it was going to be much more than that, but obviously it wasn't. So this point in Tarkov is tough for players, right? Like, have you noticed any? There is a definite change in the player base and what you find in raid. Like, I find it at the moment. I'm finding a lot of Timmies. Like,
yeah,
a hell of a lot.
Get ready for the wipe. Either they've reset accounts because they're bored, or I think a lot of people going, "I'm going to get ready for wipe. I've wanted to play this game for a while. Let me have a little practice before it actually wipes." You know, and also some people new to the game don't know what wipes are. When I first ever started the game, I started with 2 other people that we learned together. They didn't know the game either. So one of them actually, we kind of mained one map, me and my buddy. Another buddy went on Woods, and me and it was Crooks actually both start at the same time, and we kind of mastered Shoreline first. And especially with a game that's got multiple maps, it's always good to learn one at a time rather than kind of overwhelm yourself. But it was much harder that way. That's why I say, like any other game, multiplayer, especially hard to learn. Always good to learn with someone that can show you the ropes, like a Sherpa as such. But yeah, there's a lot of Timmies about. The player count is definitely dwindled. It's probably not even at 10-20% of what it was at the start of the wipe when the servers were kind of crashing because there was too many people playing it. And I think it's going to be even worse on the next wipe.
Yeah, I do. For sure, it's going to be difficult. Did they say that Arena was coming with the next wipe? They didn't, did they?
No. A lot of people are very confused by that and thinking it is. So obviously a hype video, and they were excited to do that. But I've realised they've only just announced that they're actually going to be testing it at the end of the year on the private test
servers.
Yeah, November, December. I'm going to guess for that time. For this year, obviously the wipe, for my guess, and again everyone's guessing at a stage 2-3 weeks. They are going to give a rough date or a definite date this time, I believe. Nikita's already said that he's working around the clock to get a actual date for this patch, you know, so a lot of streamers can plan their schedules and live around it because they full-time it.
There's cons coming up, isn't there? TwitchCon and stuff like that. It's all coming up.
Exactly. So everyone wants to say, can I go there, or am I going to main the game? Some people know life it for the first few weeks and months of the game. So
yeah, especially the bigger creators, people like Pestily. Like, he had that wipe before, where he said to Nikita, like, look, I need to know on this occasion. Like, you know what I mean? I actually need to know when this is, because I've been invited to go out to I think it was TwitchCon or something like that.
Yeah,
it's in his "What does he think about his wipe" video. If you go and check that out on YouTube. In fact, I'll actually put a link to it in the show notes down below. Now, he planned this whole holiday. I was like, I need to know when it is, and he was like, oh, it's going to be this time. And then it actually ended up, so he cancelled this trip, and it turned out to be a whole month later that they actually wiped the game. So
not even the developers know. So no
my thing that I say to everybody is, when Nikita wakes up in the morning and decides when the wipe is, he will tell us. But until Nikita knows, we won't know. And I guarantee you, my annual salary, Nikita does not have an official release date as of yet on the 16th of June 2022. He does not know when this patch release is going to be just yet. He's got an idea. He knows where he wants it to be, but he doesn't know. And if he doesn't know, how the fuck does anybody else know?
Yeah.
Now,
it's not one entity building this game, so
yeah,
not going to be. And if you looked at the last podcast, perfect example of his mindset and work ethic. He's a perfectionist. He didn't want to show some of the footage because he wasn't happy with a perfect angle, and there was a few other things that he wanted to get done, but he wasn't happy with it. And it's like, you know, he wants this completely right. So until he sees all that and proof of it, then he can't. You know, he can't give a reason.
I feel like he puts a lot of compromise in places where he can't get things exactly as he wants them for whatever reason, mechanical constraints, or software issues and stuff like that. I feel like he's had to compromise in the past. And so he keeps control of what he can when he can to make sure that he and at the end of the day, he's the face of an entire studio, right? Yeah. Battlestate Games were tiny before, and they're considerably larger now, but they're still a small studio. You know, if this was handed off to another studio, like Activision or something, like, we're not getting the same game. Like, that would be a terrible game.
Not as much passionate at all.
100%.
not good people working in these industries, but it's very corporate, and as you're worried about the financial influence rather than the actual keeping the fans happy.
Yep, which sort of ties into the new Call of Duty that they're talking about, this Modern Warfare 2. Now, I do occasionally miss an arcade shooter and a battle royale. I do miss it, but I would not go back to Call of Duty unless they've got a solid anti-cheat straight off the bat and they start proving that they actually give a shit about their player base, because most of the time they just sort of do things that are either money orientated or just for the fucking sake of it. You know what I mean? Like they were asking for quads for ages. Eventually they got it. You know what I mean? They change these game cycles and the player modes round in Warzone all the time. Now, they can't say that the game's not populated enough. They have millions of players every single day. So they can't say, oh, we don't want to have solos, duos, trios, and quads. You know what I mean? Like, and they just sort of do things just to piss the community off. Like, how many times was that stim glitch in the game, in Warzone, where you could just keep stimming endlessly outside of the gas?
How they didn't fix that quicker, I do not know.
Yeah, and then it came back.
Bugs.
How the fuck does it come back? Like, surely that's not. I expect like Battlestate games, spaghetti code. I understand how these things can occasionally come back. I think it's like 4 or 5 times they've said to us, we fixed the AI from insta crouching, insta standing up. They're still fucking doing it. I watched Pestily earlier today shoot a scav in the head, and the motherfucker ducked it like it was the Matrix. Like, legit, he was underground idea. He'd gone through them glass doors and he was shooting at the scav at the back wall. And as he took the shot, the scav insta-ducked and insta-popped back up again. And it's like, oh, I thought they fixed that. And I'm like, they've said that 5 times. They still haven't fixed the fucking thing. Like, it just keeps coming back.
I've got to say, they do it less for sure. They've definitely progressed.
Oh, 100%.
There's been I'm trying to think of the game-breaking bug. There was one in Tarkov. It was ridiculous. It was game-breaking. They fixed it within a day or two. It was an exploit as well. There was a couple of ones in the last wipe. They were quite prompt on it. Definitely quicker than Activision.
Yeah, exactly. How long was the texture glitch in Warzone?
That was crazy. Like, it would be, and it actually caused people to have epileptic fits while watching people's streams. Like, it was actually affecting people's health, and they still did not fix it within. It was going on for weeks and weeks. And a game in studio like that, no reason why it should take that long.
Yeah,
I went back to the game went back in time. I can't remember like what season that was. And I thought, I'm going to give it another go. I've had enough of like the complaints about hacking. Yeah. I'm going to go give it a go. And then I got, killed by 2 games in a row by people underneath the map, exploiting the map. They deliberately glitched out of the map and were shooting me through the floor. And I was like, yep, I'm done. That's enough for me.
You can, with Warzone, you can almost guarantee, especially in the days of, what was the old map called? The one that everyone likes. Verdansk, yeah. So especially in Verdansk, you could almost guarantee that in every single map there was going to be a cheater. Every single one.
It's crazy.
Which is mad. And like people saying Tarkov
live on stream as well. Cool.
Yeah. Oh, there was a guy, right? This fucked me off so much. There was a guy on Facebook, right, that was called something like Cod Hacks or something, and he wore a balaclava, biggest pussy in the world I've ever met. Like, doesn't want to put his face to it. It pissed me off, right? And he'd hold like 100, 200, 300 viewers. And then Facebook released a tweet that said, we do not support content creators streaming hacks and game exploits on our platform. They partnered him 2 days later. I was what the fuck
there was actually
are you
2
doing?
Different people that did that, and they kept releasing new pages and stuff. It's just, I don't know how much money they got out of it.
But they've got I hack this game basically in their fucking name, and they still let them through. And it was about that time I was like, do you know what? I'm done with Facebook, because it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, it was so hard to monetize. It was so hard to sort of get things done. There were so many bugs and issues with Facebook at the time. I know it's drastically improved now. Supporters weren't really weren't a thing then, unless you had 10,000 followers, going back just over a year. And they were just allowing these kinds of people on the platform, and I was just like, this isn't right. And I remember reaching out to so many people, like Facebook partners, people like Average Dad and stuff, and was like, look, I know that obviously you've got a creator manager and that sort of thing. Like you have a contact at Facebook. Like, can you get this sorted out? Because it just looks bad on Facebook as a platform. Just to put that tweet out and then to do that. And then I tweeted with like a screenshot of this guy and then and a screenshot of what Facebook said. And I was just like, you know.
Yeah, it's not breaking the terms and conditions. The TOS is fine. It's like, really?
Yeah, it's silly. Now, Battle State games have a slightly different approach to tackling cheaters. Obviously, the Battle Eye is in place, and it is pretty good Battle Eye. I mean, I don't know how good it is for the size of Tarkov now, but it's pretty darn good for the most part. There has been a few occasions where people have been banned by accident. Was it Anton got banned, and I know Tweak got banned. Now with those bans, fortunately, they have a big enough following and stuff that things could be reversed. It's very rare that people get banned when they shouldn't be banned. But that definitely caused a stir. But one thing that Battle State like to do is they don't like to straight away tackle the cheater as soon as they find them. They like to learn about it first, and then they'll release a patch and not say anything about this change that's affected the cheaters. They'll ban them, do a ban wave, release the patch. That'll patch anything that should then cover what they were doing, and that slows down, because you're never going to get rid of cheaters altogether, right? No. But it will slow down the development of the cheats and get them back in. So the best time to play Tarkov, if you get upset about cheaters every 4 seconds, when I can guarantee that 99% of them aren't cheating anyway, is to play straight after a ban wave. And if you really don't like cheaters, then don't play straight after a sale. It's the best time to do it.
Don't play an online competitive game.
Exactly, yeah. An online video game, people will always cheat. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be online fucking Mario Kart for all it matters. If there's some way somebody can gain an advantage, they will do it.
Yep. It's some people do it for MT. Some people literally do it because they're not good enough at the game. Instead of going to play another game or giving up on it, okay, right, I'm going to see if there's any hacks for this game. Yeah. So just go play GTA and just go hit your bumper buttons on, you know.
Yeah. And they're starting to promote themselves on places like TikTok. There is TikTok accounts, right, that show off the cheats, and that's where I've learned what it looks like from that side. Is I've watched a few of these videos. Bro, it is fucking insane.
It's crazy what they know. I've seen one video, and it was from someone put it on Twitter, and then someone I was following, I think one peg or Pestily, and they were like, I didn't realize it was this bad, or that you could know this more information. Was someone recorded their friend or their previous, and they said they're not friends with them anymore. This is why. Found out they were cheating, and they were showing off in a Discord stream, and it was like showing a stick man with the hitboxes around the stick figure.
That's the pretty generic like wall hack / aimbot that are normally paired together quite well. I've seen them where they can just go underneath the map and stab you in the toes to meme. I've seen a ricochet hack where they've got basically a line that comes out, you know, like in 2D snooker or 2D pool mobile games and browser games, you get the line to show you where the ball's going to go, and then it will hit the cushion and come off. Exactly the same thing, but it has the aimbot built in, so they know what they can ricochet off of different surfaces within Tarkov and hit you. Now these are quite rare. And if you do get hit with this, trust me, you fucking know about it, because you'll just spawn in, you won't hear a shot, you'll just fall over dead. It'll be like within 10 seconds of the raid. 9 times out of 10, that's going to be sus as fuck. But it is quite rare. Although, have you noticed dying to a hell of a lot of white names recently?
I have, yeah, but I need to get good, obviously. So you know,
yeah.
Got a better game in PC than me.
I had this conversation with one of my moderators, right? And I was like, why is it for the past 2 weeks the only time I've died has been to white names? Like 30 deaths in a couple of weeks. And I've only died to white names. Like, it's just a coincidence. Like, what the fuck is it? And so we sort of put it down to people resetting their accounts, and running alt accounts for late wipe. It could be that we're noticing more sus players because the general core player base is lower. Therefore, the other guys are elevated. And it could just be fuck all. Could just be new people buying the game because of the arena release and Dr. Disrespect getting a streamer item, and which I wasn't overly happy with to start with, right? What were your feelings on Doc getting a streamer item?
Well, see, I got a lot of respect for the man.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
he has his variety as well. So I realized some of the streamers are going to main the game, like Dr. Lupo, Darkness, and Paul Shark, that do like to main the game. You can have other gamers jump in. For instance, I was watching Shroud the other day, and he was 26,000 people watching him play Battlefront 2. That is a dying game, and only like people that know life it are still playing it. He was still doing well because he's a human aimbot, but he was struggling a little compared to some of the other games he plays, and he was playing solo. But he was like, he then was like, that's enough. He came off the game because there was literally only 2 game modes still kind of active on that game. And he went to go play a game, choose a game to play. He's like, oh, I might jump into Tarkov. Is Tarkov a good time to jump in? And he asked chat. And 90% of chat was like, nope, it's not a good place. Don't start now. Wait until wipe. Everyone was saying wait until wipe. Like, obviously, some people had been dying to hackers recently.
Chat's always wrong. Never listen to chat.
Oh god, yeah. I thought actually no, it's a good time for him because he can learn the game because there's still a lot of stuff that that's new to him. I haven't seen him play much this wipe. So I would have, personally said yes, but I can be biased because it's my main game I play. But
I mean, Shroud's played a lot before. Shroud has
majority,
Yeah. My issue was Doc hasn't put anywhere near enough hours into this game. To you think of people like Jesse Kazam, for example, friendly guy, that like tens of thousands of hours in this game, loads of guides. Like Jesse does some of the best guides out there. He's definitely on the same level as far as I'm concerned as people like Veritas and Pestily and One Peg and things like that. Does some amazing guides. Geeksay as well, another fantastic creator. Now they don't have 50,000 people watching them, but their content is still fucking incredible. Now, I said when they released that, because that was before the arena announcement. So when we saw it on Twitter that morning, I said, the only possible viable reason I can think of, apart from it just being a money grab or a PR thing, they haven't done themselves any favor in that department recently, which I don't think Battle State are just money grabbing. They care more about this game than almost any developer I've ever met caring about a game. If I was like, he plays arena shooters, Doc plays arena shooters, and he's bloody good at them. If you wanted hype for an arena shooter that you weren't, that's not their core thing, give Dr. Disrespect a streamer item and get him to play the fucking arcade game. The arcade shooter, the arena. It's right, it's fast. I can't remember what his thing is, but isn't it like speed, aggression?
Well, it's called arenas, and he said, let's go into the arena. Like, it's his saying, it's his like,
Yeah, he's got his own like arena, isn't he?
Yeah. He does like the survival aspect, but I think he'd much prefer that. He does a lot of the 2-on-2 COD as well. He done that with Z-Lana and a few other streamers.
Yeah,
and
100%
against Tim Attack Man. So that side of things,
it's right up his street. So it makes a perfect. That's why I think he got a streamer item, not because of his size. I do think it's because of his size based on the arena stuff.
He has played it quite a lot and passed on and off, and he had Dr. Lupo even mid wipe and this wipe help him quite a bit. Played it for a few weeks back to back and was slightly getting addicted. And I think some other games come out.
My view is, originally before the arena release, is those that still need help shouldn't be getting a streamer item, because if they don't know the game enough that they need help, what have they done for the community and the development of this beta?
True, but think of how many more players it's going to bring to the game.
Yeah, it is. Like going to bring a hell of a lot of 12-year-olds. A hell of a lot. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. That's
Timmy's for us to kill. Right?
Yeah, that's not his core thing, right? That's not a dig at him at all in any way. But arena is going to naturally bring a younger player base because it's not as punishing as Tarkov. It's not as hard to play, and the mechanics are still going to be there. Although, did you notice in the podcast the Tarkov live that Nikita was like, No. The mechanics will still be the same. You know, there'll be none of this one-shot killing stuff. And I was like, bro, I get one shot by a scav at 60 meters away. What the fuck are you on about? Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, the mechanics are still going to be the same. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm excited for
Hardcore
it.
mode,
Arena,
like one
yeah,
shot of the leg.
yeah. They're not going to do that kind of thing. But
yeah,
you get one
what
shot
I
by
love
the
about
Toz, not the Toz, the other one. The
KS23.
the KS23 was
Everyone used to camp in interchange,
horrible.
dark corners. Like you couldn't walk through that car park without fearing for your life.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I'm excited for Arena. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be good for
100%.
Battle State. It's going to be good for the player base. And yes, people are going to play it and think, do you know what? I'm going to give the main game a try.
Exactly.
Which is going to be cool. And it gives us, if I'm having a tough week in Tarkov, I'll go fucking play Arena for a couple of hours. Yeah, man.
Yep, go de-stress on that. Warm up with it if
Yeah,
you are playing
rinse
the
and
survival aspect or the other way. Cross-pollination
so
between
good.
the modes.
Yeah, because I struggle with aim labs, right? With Tarkov to get your settings down for Tarkov is really difficult compared to other games. Because obviously it's very CS:GO kind of feel.
Yeah.
But the Arena is going to be a fantastic way of doing it, and the co-op mode is going to be fantastic as well. I can't wait for that. It's going to give people like Gigabeef, Jessica Zam, Veritas the chance to really test stuff. You know, Nice Guy and No Food After Midnight, One Peg. Is the Tarkov science videos are going to fucking explode once that co-op mode comes out, and I'm excited for it. It's going to be some great content. So we're gonna wiggle on to the next game that I kind of wanted to touch on. Something a little bit close to home for me, the Formula One manager game that's going to be coming out summer this year in 2022. Now it's from Frontiers Developments. They made games like Planet Zoo, Jurassic World Evolution 1 and 2, and Elite Dangerous. Have you heard of Elite Dangerous?
I have. I downloaded it on my Xbox, I think twice now, but I never jumped into it.
Yeah.
But that does look like a pretty solid game, and I've heard good things.
Yeah, it's sort of a bit like Star Citizen, but not Star Citizen. See what I mean? Like you can't get
like
out your
a
ship.
console budget version of it, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So obviously, for those of you that have been by my stream will know who I am. I am a CNC machinist for the Alpine Formula One team. So this kind of game actually is right up my alley. You don't need a steering wheel to play it, because you literally won't be able to get in the car. It is purely management, and it's not going to be like Football Manager to an extent. It's way more in depth. There's going to be some really cool stuff from what I've already seen. So you get a chance to manage the team from the back of the grid to the front as the team's team principal, which is really cool. So team principals have a very difficult job in Formula One. This is going to be great for the fans of Formula One to really get an insight into what goes on behind the racetrack. You know, around 80 odd people from each team turn up at the tracks. Most teams have around 700 plus members in the team. So you see this much of what goes on in the sport. So there is no driving at all. You get the chance to scout team members. So that's not just drivers. That is technical directors and various other members. You can poach them from other teams, put bids in. And the UI on it looks fantastic as well. So you develop the car. Oh, we want to increase the points of error over here. We want to, you know, think about our rear end stability. What can we do with that? Do we go down the aero route? Do we go down mechanical grip route? That, you know, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that this is. I'm excited, and it's going to feel like bringing work home with me a little bit, but it's not at the same time. You see what I mean? Like, could you imagine playing a game that simulates what your company does and the company you work for does, to see if you could do it better? Because everyone does it, right? You're at work, you're like, oh, I could do it this way, or I could do. Everyone naturally does that in a workplace. If you're employed by a company, or especially big companies, you go, oh, why are they doing that? I could do it this way. So I'm interested to see what this does even for us as employees within the sport, and see if it changes how it could change our industry slightly. I have no idea. This could be fantastic. Like but yeah, some broadcast quality stuff. The budget stuff's going to be interesting because Formula One never used to have a budget cap. So teams like Williams were on about 120 million euros, I believe it was. About 120 million euros, maybe about 130 if they were lucky at one stage. Are really struggling. And then you've got people like Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull that are on 450 million plus, which explains a lot. You can develop. Oh yeah, they got the Wonga. They have got the Wonga. So obviously this year we brought in the price cap. They tested it a bit last year where they submit their books and things like that to get used to of how it's going to work. This year we've got a price cap. Mercedes are currently trying to get an annual inflation added onto that, which is going to be good for some teams and bad for others. But obviously the top teams want that to go up so that they can spend more money on paying their employees more to help with the inflation for that. But also they can use that money to develop the car more, right? Because that's what they're struggling with. They're used to having 400 million. They can just develop the car straight upwards. You know what I mean? Now they're having to learn how to engineer things on a budget, which is difficult, which is where the mid-pack and the back-end teams are really in their element here, because this is what they've been doing for years. So it is going to be cool. It's going to be releasing on Epic, Steam, Xbox, PlayStation. That's current and previous gen. But yeah, you get to develop the facility and things like that. Is management games something you've played before, Max?
I used to be quite into Football Manager, so yeah, I've dabbled in the past. It's not something I'd look into too much now, but this does intrigue me. I've looked at the Formula One games and done racing games before, and I used to watch Formula One every week when I was younger. And there's so many people into it nowadays. I think it's going to have a big following and going to be quite popular. Yeah, it's interesting.
It's I like the fact that you're not going to be able to drive the car, because then they have
Formula One releases every year for that. If you want to drive the car, play that game. You know,
and the Formula One release for this year looks incredible. Like it's like almost got a whole new look to it. Interactive pit stops rather than just going in the pit lane and it's automated. Now with the new F1 2022 game, which is the driving sim version, he's going to have controlling your pit limiter, timing your turn in, timing your release, all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be really interesting for the pit stops, because that can make a hell of a big difference to a pit crew. 2 inches is a long way when you've got a car coming at you at 80 kilometers an hour, and you're on your knees with a wheel gun in your hand. You've got to get that in the right place. So that's going to be interesting with F1 2022. Obviously, that releases as well sometime this summer. But the manager side, I think it'd be really interesting for those that play the sim race side and then the manager side. There's not many games out there where you get to FIFA. Obviously, is one of the biggest ones. You get FIFA and then Football Manager. But there isn't many games where you do both that I'm aware of, that you can play separate games and have an insight into both sides of it. You know what I mean? Track side, and then factory side. So or stadium side.
One of the best to do it for as well. How much money's involved with football and Formula One? To the just expensive as these sports and stuff. So it's going to be a lot of money behind it. And as you say, I didn't realize how many employees. There's more people behind the scenes. You see all the pit crew and stuff, and realize how many people from the engineers all the way up, through to the managers and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of employees at the factories. Some teams are running 1,500 odd people, or like 2,000 people between different sites. We've got like 850 or something, somewhere around between 800 and 900 people working for us. And that's a hell of an incredible amount of people. And you literally see 40 of them people, if you're lucky, on a race weekend.
Yeah.
You see the pit crew, you see a few of the engineers, and occasionally you'll see some of the PR crew. That's it. You don't see the truckies that are putting them garages together. You don't see half of the engineers side. You don't see the IT department. You don't see the fuel people. You know what I mean? And the oils people. You don't see the key tire people that are in touch with Pirelli and stuff like that. So this game is gonna really give you an idea of that, as well as within the game, the mechanic of developing regulations year on year. So team principal meetings and deciding what regulations you want to come into the game and ones you don't. or into the sport, if you like, because you're in a simulated world. It's not going to be like a one-shot thing where you do a season and restart, do a season, restart. This is going to be an ongoing thing, so there's not like a cap. You haven't got to delete your previous saves and start again, like wipe yourself. You can just keep developing it year on year. So that's going to be extremely interesting. Is there any games that you can think of, Max, that you're interested in?
Apart from Star Citizen, we check it out today. There was a few games the day before, but that's out next year. That's pushed back, so there's, that's getting moved on to Unreal Engine 5. And there is a lull in games now, but it's a perfect time for people to go into their kind of backlog or plan a lot of
perfect time for variety gamers to dabble in other things they don't normally play with.
Yeah. Well, if you've got Game Pass, I've got Ultimate Game Pass, so which is great. I used to have an Xbox, I still have it. I sometimes play it. But the Ultimate side of things, you get all the games on your PC as well, and like even PlayStation now. That's one thing actually, is they're bringing out games on the PS Plus and stuff like that. You can play through that, but they're also bringing out PlayStation games onto PC.
Nice.
What's the one Daryl from? Was it Norman Reedus? He was in what's that game he was in? The massive backpacks. It was crazy. What was that game? I'm trying to think. Death Stranding.
Right.
Yeah. I completely forget the name of that game every time. That got released on PC, which is awesome because I never had a PlayStation in the last like 4 or 5 years. I had a PS3. So I've not had a PS4 or PS5. I missed out on a lot of exclusives, but they're now bringing them out on to PC, which is awesome. It opens the scope to a lot more people, and a lot more people getting into PC gaming. So not just to name one game, there's a lot of games to look forward to.
Yeah.
The new Spider-Man's I'm super looking forward to, and also got The Last of Us, and also Uncharted games that have just come out as well.
Yeah, brilliant, fantastic. Right, I think we've covered just about everything we can think of for now. But it's been incredible having you on, Max. Thank you very much for joining us and helping me out. It's very much appreciated. But yeah, that's where can people find you? What are you doing? When do you stream? What are you streaming? All that good stuff.
Well, that might change because one, I've got a new job I'm starting from next week, and then I've got a baby on the way. But I'm going to start actually getting a schedule together. Well, I don't know what that one of them is, but I've always had a rough time of when I'm streaming, but I've never had a set time because my schedule from self-employment always changes. But generally, where you can find me, especially Tarkov content, is on Facebook. So facebook.gg/Tiberius streaming. On Twitch, I am /Max Tiberius. Max_Tiberius. Sorry, someone's already taken the full name one. And I'm also on Twitter, Tiberius FB on Twitter, and I'm always tweeting about stuff I'm doing or talking about things and stuff on there. And it's always, I think it's a great platform to meet streamers and have discussions about games on there.
Yep, great way to keep in touch with studios as well and keep up to date with what they're doing. So 9 times out of 10 they tweet them out and all that sort of stuff.
Actually speak to the developers potentially.
Yeah.
You're getting the key from Tarkov actually replying to your tweets about questions, and stuff like that. And it's awesome.
Fantastic. Right. All of Max's stuff will be down below. Obviously, I'm Spring Peak. I stream from 8 till midnight, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Or I normally say 8 till late because if I'm not feeling great, we sort of end it about 11. But if we push it till midnight some nights. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 till late. Friday, 6 till 10. I'm playing Tarkov at the moment. I don't think I'm going to be dabbling in too much else for the time being. I might reinstall the cycle. I don't know. Pop by it and find out. It's the best way to see what's going on. I'm going to be going live in a few minutes. Anyway, so this has been basically a podcast, episode 14. Max, thank you very much for joining us. And we'll catch you guys later, every Friday. Don't forget.